Okay, so for today's episode of Rare, I would like to introduce Daniela Malik. Daniela is an experienced marketing director, having led on the development and delivery of integrated marketing, brand, and communication strategies for multinational corporations in the life sciences sector. So Daniela moved into the rare disease space in 2021 by joining Jazz Pharmaceuticals, having spent a number of years working in the aesthetics market. Welcome, Daniela. Can you talk us through your journey so far?
Hi, good morning, Laura. Thanks so much for having me. So I started in pharma back in '99 in the US when I was doing my MBA. I moved to Germany for a management development program where I gained a lot of experience in cardiology. I worked as a sales rep as well. I then moved to neurology and I worked specifically with Parkinson's disease in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. I moved to the UK after that, and I worked with both the breast implant business and also the facial business, facial aesthetics for Allergan. Due to family reasons, I requested a transfer back to my home country, which is Brazil, and I was a marketing manager for all of Latin America. And I also spent time running the business in Mexico as an additional role covering for maternity leave. So that gave me a lot of experience into the commercial side of things as well. After about 4 years, I came back to the UK and then I focused in the breast business as a VP of marketing for a leading breast implant company. I was there for 4 years, worked also afterwards with Galderma in the global strategic marketing team, with the Chinese team, and with the UK team specifically. So that was as I said 2 years. And in 2021, I moved to rare diseases, and I think that changed a lot in the way that I see what you can do working in pharma. I worked for Jazz Pharma as marketing director for Europe and International for rare types of epilepsy, where I was fortunate enough to bring Epidiolex to patients who desperately needed the drug. Uh, and it really allowed me to use my experience, my skills, and my passion to help patients and those families across the world who really need those drugs.
Yeah, great. And so your last role was actually as director of patient discovery. So what did this entail?
So it's interesting. When I first saw the name, and I thought that is a bit of a different name, for somebody who's done commercial and marketing, all my life. But the more I got into the business, the more I discovered that that role was very fitting. So the idea was in this company is to bring drugs from US biotechs to Europe that believe that the European market is too complex or too complicated. So the idea is to get these drugs into the European market. So I started by understanding patient journeys or patient experiences in various rare and ultra rare diseases. And we did this together with the patient support groups. This way, we could map out all the interactions with the HCPs that led to a proper diagnosis, also compared to those that led to a non-timely diagnosis, so to speak. And this way, we could understand the types of HCPs that they are engaging with, the types of HCPs that they are referring them to the one that would then diagnose it, and understanding what types of information those HCPs need and that cascade in order to have the patient have a proper diagnosis. And it's about developing then those engagement strategies for interaction, and it's mapping that out in each of the countries to really make sure that the patients then have access to HCPs that have enough information that would lead them to diagnosis and to the proper medication that would then hopefully change their lives.
And why is this way of working so important?
What we've seen is that most of the diseases are seriously underdiagnosed. So patients, unfortunately, die very prematurely, sometimes within a year or so of birth because of incorrect diagnosis. So if we can really map out these journeys and understand where we can make a difference by bringing the correct information to the correct HCP at the right time, this makes a huge difference for them, and gives them a chance to have better outcomes and to have a more successful life.
Yeah, no, definitely. And from your experience so far, what does it mean to be truly cross-functional? So, like, what practices do you think companies should be adopting?
I've worked in various size companies, and I've worked in a lot of local operations, regional operations, and global roles as well. And I think that people tend to work in silos, and very often you have the marketing people who don't understand, what makes the medical people tick, and the other way around, that some people think that marketing is just a lot of fluff. So I think it's really about seeing things as a holistic thing, and seeing things in terms of how can we add value to the patient, which at the end of the day is one of the main reasons why a lot of people get into pharma. So it's understanding that everybody to a certain extent is going to engage with that HCP. So there's very often a bit of a thing saying, well, there is promotional, there's non-promotional, marketing and medical shouldn't work together, but I see that in a different way. I firmly believe that everybody needs to work in sync to ensure better outcomes for patients. And at the end of the day, things now are very transparent. We need to be highly ethical, no matter whether we're in marketing, in sales, or in medical. Um, but I think it's about having for example, the MSLs or anybody in medical affairs. It's about understanding, if obviously if you're visiting an account, a customer, but it's having more of a key account management perspective. Obviously, we need to protect the fact that MSLs are highly paid, because not only they're highly skilled from a scientific perspective, but there's this aura of science that the doctors respect and accept the information in a different way when it comes from an MSL versus when it comes from a sales rep. So we need to protect that aura. Um, but I think that the MSLs need to understand that they are incredibly important, um, when it comes to ensuring that the right patient gets the right drug at the right time. So it's not about, the MSLs coming in and saying, well, doctor, this is the clinical data. Do you have any questions? If you do, let me know. Otherwise, goodbye. And then the sales rep comes in and does everything else. I see things as, everybody works with the same account and with that mentality that we need to get the patients treated with what they need. It's just that the emphasis or the focus is a little bit different. But I firmly believe that if you have a coordinated approach and you can bring the information in different ways, and more sort of backwards looking in terms of clinical data, or more forward looking in terms of, let's make sure that when you get a patient that looks like that, they might benefit for that drug, let's try it, which is something that traditionally the rep would do. I think that if we can all work together and have that holistic approach, and understand where everybody comes in, I think that we can definitely have better outcomes for the patients and for their families.
Yeah, definitely. And we're seeing it more and more in, you know, company requirements for working cross-functionally. But thank you so much, Daniela, for taking the time to
Welcome.
feature and for sharing your views on your experience of working in rare diseases.
Thanks so much, Laura.